Well, the SEC has played in several bowl games so far this season. Let's talk about them a little bit. So Navy beat Oklahoma. That was an interesting one that, SEC fans are certainly having a hard time swallowing, particularly given the fact that Oklahoma beat Alabama um, just a couple of weeks ago, right? And I don't know. Oklahoma has been so disappointing this year.
Yeah, I mean, as impressive as Texas has been in the conference, I mean,
Mhm.
Oklahoma has been the exact opposite. And
Yeah.
speaking of fan bases that want to fire their coaches, like, I mean,
Yeah.
Brent Venables probably goes into the
Well, he's gotta hire an offensive and a defensive coordinator before next season too, right?
yeah, and he goes in. He probably goes into the next year with the most pressure on him
Yeah.
of any coach. Right
Yeah.
now, we will talk about this another week, but like, if Florida or Arkansas or some of the coaches that maybe entered this year on the hot seat like don't get off to good starts, that could certainly shift.
Yeah.
But Brent Venables, to me, has the most pressure on him of anyone because
Yeah.
I mean it's 2 losing seasons now that he's had of 3 years, and
Yeah.
you come into the SEC, you think you've got all this talent, you think you're ready to kind of compete, and I mean they did have the Alabama win, that certainly helps, but yeah, to lose to Navy, and again, I just don't understand. There are opt outs. Obviously, I won't make any friends on this channel saying this, but obviously the SEC mantra is very much like, if we win the game, it shows how good we are. If we lose the game, we didn't care. But, it's Navy. Like, how do you hold Alabama to 3 points and then give up 3 touchdowns to Navy?
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Even with the opt outs, you're still so much more talented. You were obviously favored in the game. And they just didn't look good, right? Like, they didn't look good at all. They mounted a little bit of a comeback at the end. I'll tell you this, I liked the decision to go for two. It didn't work out for them, but I'm all
Yeah.
for that because overtime sucks in this sport now.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma's been to me, the most. Other teams were worse, right? Mississippi State was worse. Kentucky was bad, but Oklahoma's been the most disappointing SEC team this year to me, and it's not close.
Yeah. How about Vandy, Georgia Tech? I don't know that there was a more fun football game to watch than that one. First of all, you've got your two brainiac schools going at it. There was fighting. There was coaches losing their mind on the sidelines. I was here for all of this.
Yeah, battle of the nerds. The refs in this game were terrible, both ways. I really do feel like, I think Vandy probably wins anyway, but I think the refs impacted this game in a massive way. The game was really, really good, and then they had that kind of bogus, like, they blocked into the fair catch returner, which was even the guy that came on whoever they have like in studio or whatever, like talking about it, the former ref that's on every network now.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, this was pretty bad. Like, it's a judgment call, but I don't know what he was seeing here. And that, instead of the ball being at the 40, the ball was at the 2. And so that was pretty big. And it
Loser
felt like,
conferences talk about refs, by the way. Go on.
I mean, it was probably a Big Ten officiating crew, so I don't really care where it came from. It was still pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fun game. I thought, Pavia was great.
Yeah.
He was up in, obviously he was really good when they played Bama. He was kind of down at other times, like when they played Tennessee and stuff, but he was really, really good. Georgia Tech just felt like they couldn't get it going. Like, they were always playing catch up. And I thought they would be a little bit better after. I mean, obviously they took, who we think is maybe a national championship type team in Georgia down to the absolute wire in 8 overtimes. I thought Georgia Tech would be a little bit better in this game. Now they've got some opt-outs too. One of the best wide receivers in the portal left, and maybe maybe some of their stuff makes a difference. They had some offensive linemen out and stuff. So, opt-outs are a thing here in the postseason, but I thought Pavia looked really, really good. I thought he was incredibly fun. He got out of some sacks that you're just looking at it like, how in the world did you do that? And Vandy was a fun team to watch this year. Like, yeah, I mean, they exceeded expectations. They had a winning record at 7-6. Nobody expected that early in the year. Before we got started. So yeah, that game was really fun. The lightning delay kind of took a little bit of the excitement out, but Georgia Tech fought back and made it a 1-score game before the end of the game. And so there was even some excitement after the lightning delay, but that game was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, Vandy honestly was just so impressive to me this season. And I know, anytime we talk about who teams lost to, they're like, oh, and they lost to Vandy. But Vandy was honestly really good this season. They had an incredibly difficult schedule. Obviously, they play in the toughest conference in college football. This is not your daddy's Vandy. This is a team on the rise. Really excited to see where Coach Lee has them next year. Got another year of eligibility for Pavia. So kind of interested to see what they look like next year. I am super impressed with them. I thought it was really, really fun. What about that Arkansas Texas Tech game? Did you see? I've retweeted this, the video of the Arkansas player stepping on the I believe it was an ankle of the Texas Tech player, like super dirty.
Yeah, I mean, dirty plays just mean more. So I don't know. This game to me underwhelmed for sure. I thought Texas Tech would be better in this game, and I thought it would be kind of high scoring fun both ways. And Texas Tech just stunk. And Arkansas had massive credit to Arkansas. Like everyone had Pittman fired before this season started, and they fought their tails off. And they have I think they had like 20 guys opted out, portaled and opted out. Like they had a lot of guys not playing in this game, and they still absolutely demolished Texas Tech. And again, there was a lot of points, but this game was underwhelming to me just because it was never really in doubt. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, when a game is up 3-4 scores, like, I don't know, I just kind of like find something else. And I think I flipped back over to the Vandy Georgia Tech game to watch the end of the lightning delay. But yeah, I mean, massive credit to Arkansas in this one. They were the underdogs. They shouldn't have won. They were the team that nobody believed in this year, and they went out and got it done. And so, yeah, I mean, dirty play aside, it was pretty impressive to see them go out and kick butt.
So though, for all of you guys that stayed awake to watch the late game, USC Texas A&M ended up kind of being a barn burner, 10:30 Eastern kick. That's a little bit brutal for us when we've been up and watching it all day long.
Yeah, and what was that? Was that on Friday night too? Like it was just kind of a crazy week with the holiday and everything else.
Yeah.
Did USC pick the wrong conference? Going to the Big Ten, they were absolutely terrible. SEC, they're 2-0 this year against LSU and Texas A&M. But yeah, I thought A&M, this is just a classic case of A&M blowing this thing because there's no way that USC should have come back and won, but they did.
Yeah.
So credit to them, but it was a thriller. A touchdown with like no time left. This to me, the Georgia Tech Vandy game was exciting, but to me, for those that stayed and watched it, this to me was the most fun game of Friday night for sure.
Yeah, this was another fun one. This is, I feel like I don't know, kind of a classic matchup of two really good historic programs that we don't normally get to see play each other. It's what we love about bowl season, right? Is when we can get matchups like this, and down to the wire. Texas A&M did kind of choke there at the very end, but fun game, and great. So USC is 2-0 against the middle part of the SEC. Congratulations to them this year.
Well, they were like under 500 in the Big Ten. So, all right, some games coming up here. Only one Monday game, Missouri against Iowa. Picking bowl games, we'll just pick these real quick, but picking bowl games with all the opt-outs and stuff is completely pointless. On Friday, of the 4 games that were played, 3 of them, we talked about all 4 of them. Every single underdog won. Navy was an underdog, Vandy was an underdog, Arkansas was an underdog, USC was an underdog. All 4 won. So I might just pick all the underdogs in these.
Right, that might be just the absolute way to go here.
I think it's hard for Vegas too to even cap these games, just because again, who's opting out, who's quitting halfway through, all that. So, Missouri's a 2.5 point. Missouri's a 2.5 point favorite against Iowa. This is one that I have no clue on. I would lean Missouri in this, but one week they're losing to A&M by 40. The next week they're right in it with, teams that they have no business even being close to. So I'd lean Missouri here. I have no clue. If Iowa can, Iowa does play, fairly well in bowls at times just because they do run and play defense well. So I don't know, but I think Missouri probably wins this one.
Yeah, I think Missouri wins this one, but again, kind of hard to pick. Music City Bowl, fun game in Nashville.
South Carolina is a 10-point favorite against Illinois. I think South Carolina wins this. I have no idea how to figure out a spread in a game like this. But I do think South Carolina is the better team. I guess Illinois to cover, just hoping that it's a little closer than 10 points.
I'll pick South Carolina to cover. I'm thinking they have something to prove here after being on the outside looking in the playoffs.
They also have, it's nice to have your quarterback. And, Altmaier's playing for Illinois, so I'm not really worried about that as much. But South Carolina having Lenore Sellers, a really good defense. Most of those guys are back next year. And I don't think they have a ton of opt-outs, even for the guys that are leaving for the NFL. I think, maybe I'd lean South Carolina to cover in that case too. But big spreads in bowls just feel like I'll take the underdog to cover. But South Carolina, I think, wins. In the Cheez-It Bowl on Tuesday. The Baylor LSU one is interesting. Nobody's playing for LSU in this game, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This is totally, as much as I made the joke earlier, this is totally a situation where I feel like LSU just doesn't care.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate that. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I think Baylor wins. I actually think they win going away. They were one of the hotter teams down the stretch. I think at one point they were like, 2-5, and they won enough games to get bowl. Like, or not 2-5. Sorry, they finished 8-4. But like, I think Baylor actually wins this thing. I think they win, and if they're going to win, they're going to cover. But I just wonder how much LSU really cares about this game. Nobody's playing in it. It feels like, and that's why you kind of wonder,
Yeah,
like, why is Baylor a favorite against LSU? That's why. So
that's
I'll
why.
take Baylor
Yep.
to win.
I'm gonna take Baylor too. I hate agreeing with you on things, so I'm hoping maybe on the next one we disagree.
No, Ole Miss 17-point favorite against Duke. I mean, 17's a
Yeah.
massive amount of points. And so, yeah, maybe it's a little closer than that, but I think Ole Miss wins this going away. I Duke's quarterback transfer, obviously they've got a lot of turnover there. Um, I don't even know if Dart's playing in this. Maybe we should have looked that up before we got on here, but whether he plays or not, obviously Austin Simmons is there. I think that Ole
I
Miss
think Dart's
wins.
not playing. I'm pretty sure it's Austin Simmons' game.
Yeah, 17's a lot of points. I think I would lean Ole Miss here, not very confidently, but I
Yeah.
do think they win. I don't think Duke can do
Yeah.
enough offensively to win. So I don't know.
I don't think Ole Miss covers, but I think they win.
Then I'll take Ole Miss to cover.
There
Let's
you
not
go.
agree too much on this.
Perfect. I'm here for that.
Probably this should see this sucks. This should be a better game than it is, but again, we've kind of devalued bowl games a little bit, and this is also happening on New Year's Eve. Alabama 13.5-point favorite here in Tampa against Michigan. Michigan's got a lot of transfers. They've got a lot, I don't know. I think Alabama covers here. Obviously Milroe will play, like all the big guys will play. So I would lean Alabama to cover in this one. I just think that if Michigan was full strength, the same full strength that they were against Ohio State, I mean, Michigan, and again, we've questioned how good Indiana really was. Michigan played Indiana really close, and that was a one-score game too. If Michigan was full strength, I would take them to cover the 14 points. The problem is, if they were full strength, that Alabama wouldn't be a 13.5-point favorite. So
Yeah.
it'd be like 9.5 or
Yeah.
something. And so I don't know. I think I like Alabama to cover here and obviously win the game. But again, when the spreads are so high, it's
Yeah.
incredibly hard to say one way or the
Okay.
other. I'll take the Tide with the points.
All right. I'm gonna pick Alabama to win, but I'm gonna say they do not cover. So that's I don't know. We can be a little bit different there. So I wanted to read you before we move on from this something that I had tweeted that I saw earlier in the week that I thought was crazy. So we talked about the Armed Forces Bowl. That was the Oklahoma Navy game. We talked about the Birmingham Bowl, which was Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt. We talked about the Liberty Bowl, Arkansas, Texas Tech. We did not talk about the Holiday Bowl, which was Syracuse, Washington State. We did talk about the Las Vegas Bowl, USC A&M. Between those 5 games, though, 146 players opted out because they're in the transfer portal. 5 games, 146 players. That is bananas to me. And, obviously we've talked ad nauseum about the fact that we've got to figure out a way to get this transfer portal a little bit under control. And I know the NCAA is sitting there saying, we had it under control. We made you sit out. You could only transfer once. We had these rules in place before and you guys didn't like them, but we've got to do something. This is just crazy.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do an actual segment on this at some point, like trying to fix the calendar. To me, the quick fix, which doesn't work with the school calendar, would be to literally just move the transfer portal to after the national championship.
Yeah.
And then you move signing day to national signing day. You take away early signing day.
Yeah. Leave it to where it was originally. Weird.
Yeah. So to me, that would be, but again, guys like to early enroll. You've got this situation. I get it, but I don't know. To me, I would move everything back a little bit. And that doesn't fix
Can
everything
you
because
have
of early
it
enrollees.
where
But
it's open and closed before bowl games start so that listen, you got to make a decision and maybe you're not playing in the last regular season, game, but you've made a decision and you've got to go or not.
yeah, I mean, guys want to take visits. Do they need to take visits the second time around? Everybody's getting tampered with anyway. So it's not like they don't know the coaches or
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
I see the value in being able to start in January, and I think that that's the school's arguments are going to be that we have to preserve that. But it is wild. 146 players and out of only 5 of these bowl games have opted out. It's just I don't know. It's devaluing the postseason here. When you hear rumors that Ohio State's paying all of these guys to continue to play because they're going to hit the portal, it's broken. And I don't know if I know exactly what the right solution is here at all, but this ain't it.
Yeah, and Dan says, yeah, this was gonna be the other thing. Like, obviously, you can't do that with the academic calendars. Not that
Yeah.
any of these kids, come here to play school anyway. But I don't know. Maybe you could have some kind of a waiver, or if you choose, this is a thought. Coaches, if they leave a school to go to another school, they have to. A buyout has to be paid. Like there is a small penalty,
Mhm.
sometimes small, sometimes kind of large. But like if you leave to go
Yeah.
somewhere,
And
the
New
other
York
school has to
Florida
pay a
State is
penalty.
real large.
Maybe, well, no, not that. Like the other side of the buyout. Like if Norvell
Okay.
left, like he would have to
Yeah.
pay part of the
Yeah,
buyout.
yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
So because of that, there's a penalty. Maybe the penalty is you can't transfer in until the end of the spring window.
Yeah.
You want to transfer.
I want these
If,
NIL contracts to go through the bowl games too.
I mean, or at least the first half of bowl games.
Well, hey guys, we appreciate you so much tuning into a peek inside SEC football. If you enjoyed the content, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any new content heading your way. We are live every Sunday evening and we would love to have you join us.